Okay. Let me just draw you back to what is on the front page of a Standard today. And of course, this is a security threat as far as illicit trade is concerned, and where we have all these route comings from every a corner of the country. And detectives go far. KRA's graft kings, right? They say DCI hot on the heels of contraband goods network, facilitators of illegal imports at Kenya's entry points, and conspiracy ring minting billions at Times Tower. And you can see we have from Sudan the guns and the clothes and the leather and the leather products. This is from Ethiopia, South Sudan, and of course the region Uganda there. And then we have also Uganda, 42 billion shillings value of imports from Uganda, maize, milk, clothes and sugar. But I'm actually interested in the guns that are actually coming into the country from Somalia especially. And we have also from the ports of Mombasa, spare parts, electronics, some of these things that they use as IEDs to make sure, they plant some of these explosives. Could we talk about the illicit trade that is happening, and we couple that with security, how important it is, and of course how salutary an effort the government is trying to make sure that is curbing this infiltration from every porous border, from every border that, point that we have in this country. Let's just pick it up with you, Dr. Momonzao.
Yeah, I can say that more than ever before, the government has taken matters of border security very seriously. There have been certain experiments that are in place, but other tangible actions that have been put in place in terms of border security. And one of those is to sort of bring three fronts together: customs and excise, the entire revenue collection, KRA, and the immigration. So there is a joint operational outlook around these, and for the first time even KRA has got a special border security sort of component embedded on that. And I think we are on the right direction, but of course we don't have a perfect picture. There are a lot of things that that are associated with management of borders and so on. But one thing is the first step is clean your house, because if your house is not clean, then you cannot you cannot come out clean. So there might be inequities inside, mistakes and rotten apples and so on, just to say it in figurative form. And that needs to be cleaned out. You cannot be the watchman and still doing the thief, and so on. So there are certain weaknesses that are clear, and they should be cleaned out so that systems can work.
All right, systems can work. I wonder, maybe you can actually also just bring me up to speed as far as the border wall was concerned, or is concerned. This border wall between Kenya and Somalia that was actually, running along the expanse of the borderline that we do have in the country, and it was a tidy sum of money. I don't know if you're privy to this information, how far it's reached so far, and what discernible or substantive difference can it bring as far as border security is concerned.
Debarl, it's not a wall, eh?
It was not a perimeter wall.
No, okay. The way it was presented, it was like a wall, but the idea is that just a physical barrier of sorts which you can monitor, and it has been proceeding several tens of kilometers. But the problem is that there are certain things that had to do with borderlines between Kenya and Somalia, some towns that were exactly on that.
Thank you.
And that needed to be navigated.
Thank you. But we were under the impression that it was actually a wall, and we had the costing. I think even at one point, Noah Midamba, you gave us some costing of this wall, and we were wondering how, the cost-benefit and analysis of it. At the end of the day, how was it? So again, it's not a wall. I'm surprised.
The issue, Debarl, is we need to be much more intelligent.
Is it a wall or is it not a wall? Before you go about to...
They wanted to build a wall.
They wanted to build a wall.
Yeah, at the beginning. And those of us opposed the idea of building a wall. because basically you are going to entice these thieves. You know, they will come up with incredible budget and all that kind of thing. And whatever it is they build, you can just run your own truck, four-wheel truck, and knock it down and go the other side. The people coming from the other side sometimes don't come through the wall. They come straight at the acceptable gate. But because of corruption, they're able to come in anytime they want. I had recommended having a balloon, which is existing in Israel over Gaza Strip, that can watch every detail of everything. The Israelis are able to detect whether you are building a bomb under the ground or on top of the ground or anywhere, okay, beside the wall they are built. They have complete intelligence over what's going on Gaza Strip. That is what I recommended. It cost significant cost at the beginning. A long term, we are going to be much better off than trying to build a wall.
All right, Dr. Asen Kaninja, we'll come to you.
Yeah. Number one, with the current state of the economy, we cannot afford to build a full wall like what the U.S. is doing with Mexico. It's going to cost billions of dollars. We can have some sort of barrier, but we can't really afford to build a wall. That will be a lie. Now, having said that, that doesn't mean that we should do anything. Now, the success of the illicit trade, it speaks to the failure of parts of the immigration and the customs. But it also means we are losing money as a country because then we are not able to tax them properly and at appropriate rates, or sometimes not tax them at all. But what that also means is it makes us extremely vulnerable to drug traffickers and to terrorist gangs, since they can just so easily, go through or come to the country. And we complain a lot about, illicit trades, which, of course, another aspect of it, it's also a source of the contaminated products and substandard products which are affecting us and our citizens. But we always need to have a long-term view, not very reactive and reactionary response to the problems we face, such as the problem of illicit products, because this is something that's been going on for very many years. We need a long-term strategy. Now, if surveillance, like what Professor is suggesting, can work, then that is something we should consider. However, the people who are going to be involved, they have to be ready to do the work, because for instance, at the port of Mombasa, we have officials there. Why are we still getting drugs to the port of Mombasa? Why are we still getting counterfeit products to the port of Mombasa? That should not be happening. So it's also important to overhaul the system and to be ready to, just the same way the president right now is fighting the war against corruption, to actually have a radical surgery when it comes to the civil service or the people we entrust in performing those duties and responsibilities.
All right. Erasmus Moicha.
Yeah. What bothered me a lot, Debarl, from that scenario that you have on the screen is to see these two scenarios. You have illicit trade coming out of Tanzania, Uganda, and that's one category. And then you have illicit trade coming from Somalia and South Sudan and Ethiopia. Now, the two scenarios that Uganda and Tanzania are members of East African Community. These other countries are not. Now, here's the problem, because we are trying to build regional integration, one common market. And so part of my life has been to promote regional integration and particular trade facilitation. So, and there are issues now how you handle borders, because for borders, we have now gone even to a higher level of technology, which is known as one common stop border post, where you have all the agencies working together, immigration, security, health, and everything else. So how do you end up with this contraband, with all these agencies that should be there? And you have also computerized that you can have goods, that any consignment coming must be well documented. And it's not you and I that will walk through the border. These are cartels. It is part of corruption. And the question of trying to build walls is not an answer. And of course, when you have illicit trade, it endangers the country.
Yes.
It endangers production, you can see guns are coming in. So you have a really serious situation here. And the building the wall is not an answer therefore. What is an answer then is, I think, is to continue to invest in technology, but it also means to invest in the people that we are having in those borders.
Thank you. Let's hear from Dr. Kisangani.
Yeah, I think Ambassador has a position that I share. For me, the problem that I see here, when it comes to all this contraband that is coming in, I see it from a systemic perspective. Look at even just from closer here in Nairobi, where we have CCTV systems. We installed them and we thought they're going to help us a lot, but we see mugging and everything going on around here. So while it is important to invest in systems, I also think that we have a fundamental problem. Investing in people, we have a fundamental problem when it comes to, I don't know whether to call it a culture, how we do things. Because elsewhere you go to Rwanda, things are being done differently, but here, the people, like at the port, you have people there, but they're not doing the work that they're supposed to do. So I am just arguing that we need to invest in, say, technology, which Professor Midamba is advancing about surveillance, but I think there's a fundamental human problem that we have here that we need to deal with, find a way of addressing it so that people do what they're supposed to do, those at the border and other places.
So the human factor also is very key. Even if you have a very watertight border and the human element comes into play, what really happened with the China wall as well? A long stretch of and miles of a wall that running into, thousands, I think over 2,000 miles, but just the gatekeeper was corrupted, right? So the issue of I think a paradigm shift also is very key.
Yeah. But let me make this adage. It's important to underscore what we call necessary and sufficient conditions. Conditions of necessity and sufficiency. You close your door in the morning, or when you're leaving a place, you close the door and so on. It doesn't mean someone cannot break through. It is a common practice that you take precaution and so on. So the wall is not sufficient, but is necessary. It's necessary.
Okay.
So the point I'm saying is that Somalia is our neighbor, is a friendly country. You cannot wish away your neighbor. And so there are historical, socio-cultural conditions that need to be worked out, and a lot of political will and cooperation on that. But again, administratively, there are sections that can be, even the U.S. barrier itself. There are sections, even with South Africa and its northern neighbors. There are sections that are wall. There are sections that are over. If you find a pool, it's water. Then they do electric. The others, they have sensors and so on. So it's not about those nitty-gritties about that, but some kind of monitoring of movement of people. Even if you go to an airport, you'll be checked for security and so on. So that's the point we're underscoring. Is necessary, but is not sufficient. Sufficiency comes with all other variables that we have to add so that we have the perfect picture. But I think the panelists have really tried to bring this out.
Thank you. Right.
And so on. Yeah.
Right. We need to move on also and just look lastly at the new policy housing or the new police housing policy to be launched very soon. If we just pick up my laptop there for the viewers to see this. This is in the standard page 11. It's all about national issues. They say President Uhuru Kenyatta is, let me try and, yes, so that you can see it clearly there, that President Uhuru Kenyatta, it says, is set to roll out the restructuring process on August the 18th. And tucked away also this was says that, well, getting messy a bit there. Let me try and sort it out for you so that you can see it clearly for you. We read it. That is on the page 11. Yeah, there we go. I want to try and tamper with it so that you can see it clearly. Well, let's try and read. It says the new housing policy for the police service has been prepared ahead of its launch by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The policy provides for the managing of housing in the National Police Service with a focus on decent accommodation for police officers. It seeks to ensure that all staff are adequately housed through direct provision of standard housing units and amenities or house allowances. It will also provide clear-cut criteria for the management and allocation of houses in the service. Let's just comment on it as far as the police reforms are concerned as well. Wasn't this really actually captured with the police reforms? Any of you that was actually involved in the police reforms? Let's hear from Noah Midava.
Debarl was not involved with the police reform, but I've read enough about it. And here's my stake. We are repeating the same mistake we have made over and over again.
Yes.
Government has no responsibility getting involved with housing, creating housing. We are doing that at the university. We have decided that...
Sorry, I don't follow. Government is not involved in...
Has no business.
Has no business.
Yes, in creating housing. The reason why I'm saying that is at the university we have decided to map out and give this responsibility of providing student housing to the private sector and understand the kind of environment that need to be taken care of and everything. So instead of providing this old system of houses that later on are now decayed and badly managed and everything, we need to work very close with the private sector to create houses and make sure those houses are conducive to the police. They are closer to proximity to where police are, and therefore police then have a choice to live in whatever house they want. This is what is happening in all advanced countries. And then the government get out of that system because it's very, very costly and corruption comes in and everything else. So let's move away from doing things the old ways.
Okay. Erastus Mwencha, you hold with his view?
Okay.
Do you hold with his view?
Yes, I hold the view to some extent. I'm conflicted in one way because I think I've seen a clip, I don't know whether it was through Nation or other media, where there was an indication of the horrid conditions under which police live, family sharing, and with a curtain and all these children and the parents in one room. It was deplorable. So we need to do something about it. And it is also part of the big four that the president pursuing. In fact, if you look at Malaysia, they used housing as an entry point, as a growth pole for the economy to grow. So it is a good direction. But where I want to agree with him, and very much so, is this question of ownership of housing by state, particularly when it comes to maintenance. If you look at public utilities, we have not developed a culture of maintenance. They depreciate very fast, no one cares. I think the direction we should go, unfortunately, we have tried these schemes of National Housing Fund, which didn't seem to work well, but we need now to get to a point that we can develop a bank like China have done, that you can come and borrow money, have access to a house, because what is important, because the problem with the police, of course, they have to live in colonies to be near the workplace, and they move from place to place. So owning a house is not easy. And so that's where I said I'm conflicted, because you need to solve a situation. But what he's saying, let us encourage, because like now, if you see what is happening like near KCA or near a place of a university, encourage people to develop kind of facilities that can be suitable for students. And keep your eye on it to make sure the supply is not misused, so that you can be able to have affordable housing.
Thank you.
But ownership is not an answer.
Ownership is not an answer. Yeah, let's hear from Dr. Hassan Khanija.
When your office looks like a pigsty and your living quarters looks like an abandoned cattle dip, I don't think you're going to have the drive or the desire to offer service to citizens of any country, let alone Kenya. I've visited a number of police stations. Some of them, frankly, stink. Even one in Kilimani, it smells horrible. There was a time I ran into an accident and I went to Salga, and their office was flooded. The living quarters were flooded, and they just abandoned some structures made of mabati from long time ago. The truth is, there are things that government does well, but there are other things, as Professor Midamba is saying, that does not do very well. Now, sometimes government can put up structures, but there is no continuity when it comes to maintaining. Yeah, and I think, as he's mentioning, it will be helpful if we can engage the private sector a whole lot more, because at least they're going to pay attention. But the conditions under which our police force live, sometimes no wonder by the time they're getting out there, they are so mad at you even before they start serving you, because it's horrible. It's just horrendous. It looks like some concentration camp of some sort. You know, it's unacceptable.
Thank you. Right, Dr. Mumuzao, briefly.
Yeah. One thing is we were involved in the GJLOS program, Justice, Law, Governance, Justice, Law, and Governance, and how do you say, JJLOS program, yeah, which was reforms in the governance sector, right from 2003, 2004, all the way, and we had General Ali come in. And there are a lot of things that have been in the positive, but we need to look at the incremental gains that we can do and how we can enhance them. I want to buy Professor Midamba's formula and also add it to what Ambassador is saying here. We cannot change things overnight. Systems don't change overnight. There are a lot of baggage. There's a lot of baggage in it. But there is a way to go easing out. So one of it is to get ingenious with it. For example, just at Kamukunji police station out there, those structures just need finishing, just finishing. And even from this photo, I think it is that where Honorable Matiangi was standing.
Thank you.
So some of that can be done and ease the pressure, but more lasting solutions then need to be followed through.
Thank you. Lastly, let's hear from Dr. Kisangani.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between the principle and the practice. The principle that police need better housing is quite good. The issue is the practice. And like colleagues knowledgeable on the subject have said, that those concerns. My key concern is around, I mean, to change things within the police is a systemic problem. There are too many things that need to be addressed. I'm looking at it, you may provide housing, but how useful? Do the police have the right tools? Is there coordination in terms of responses? The questions around corruption, even the whole of it. So for me, actually, what the president needs to do, what is fundamental? He has talked about 4 pillars. For me, if he can just address the question of corruption, where money is taken to do the right thing, it will address the 4 pillars and even many more. So for me, that is important.
Right. I want to thank you profusely this morning for this cogent discussion. Of course, we've covered a lot of things, but I want to thank you nonetheless for highlighting pertinent issues as far as you know, the graft is concerned, as well as far as also international stories are concerned with the terrorism, and how also they are each and every day, you know, coming up with new tactics as far as, you know, sleeper cells are concerned. Thank you very much. I'll be remiss if I don't read some tweets, just 1 or 2. Samuel says that no matter how tall and thick a wall will be illicit, will cross, the wall will be relevant without good intelligence. And I think this is what you're alluding to. The wall comes with many costs. The most is the large financial outlay required to build it. Let's embrace technology. We have Andrew J. Franklin saying, when will Kenya implement My Somalia Border Control Project, first introduced in March 2014? Total budget then was 250 million shillings. Right, he's a security analyst as well. And lastly, we have Ruto saying the greatest setback in a war against corruption is most of us are not sure whether we're clean from corruption or we are part of the victims. And of course, many have been involved directly or indirectly. I want to thank you so much for your valued company and your reactions on social media as well. Remember also, tomorrow we'll be turning our focus on illicit trade